I made a video about a chord sequence that's used a lot in rock and pop music. Now, it was a major chord sequence. Now, the link to that video is below. If you like, watch that one before you watch this one. But in this video, I'm going to show you how to get other chord sequences, essentially for free. That is, once you know that first sequence, you can get a lot more out of it. Let's have a look. As I said in my opening video, we can get one chord sequence for free if we know another one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to base the chord sequences in the key of C major, which does this. That is the scale of C. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We can think of 8 as being 1 again. Now this is an important concept. This C and this C are essentially the same note. We can think of them as the same. This one is just a slightly deeper version of that one. That's a brighter version than that one, for example. But we've got to think in terms of our C. All C's, for this purpose, are the same. So would all D's, all E's, etc. Now, the chord sequence that I went through last time was 1, 5, 6, 4. And what does that mean then? Well, what we do is we get chords that are based on entirely on that scale, but the number is the bottom note here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4. Notice the structure is the same for all of the chords. You can see that there's notes. I've missed out a note, so I've got the first and the third and the fifth of the scale, which is actually a major chord. So that's a major chord. That's a major chord. This one's a minor chord. I'll go through that in a second. And that one is a major chord. Roman numeral terms, we get 1, which is an uppercase Roman numeral. 5, which is an uppercase Roman numeral. 6, which is a lowercase Roman numeral. That's for minor chords. And then an uppercase 1V, or Roman numeral 4, for chord 4. Now it's important that we don't play it like this. It's theoretically not very nice, and actually it doesn't sound very nice either. It's much better to actually change the order of the notes that we've got in the chord. It's also far less work. So let's just go through that. You've got C to G. So the one common note between these chords is that one, it's the G. So I could say, well, if we just take the C chord, imagine what the G is going to look like, which is this here, and take the B and the D and find closer versions to the notes we've got at the bottom here, which is there. Remember how I said that you can think of these two Ds being the same, or these two Bs being the same, for example. So we've got C, G. Now A minor here was one note apart. That follows that the G here is going to be followed by this, which is A minor, one note apart. So you could think of it in terms of the distances as well. So C, G, A minor. Now, A minor and F, we look at A minor here, and F. Two of these notes are common, the A and the C. So we could actually do this. We could find the F that's closest, like that. So, the whole chord sequence would then do this. Like that. C, G, A minor, F. Or 1, 5, 6, 4. Notice that those Roman numerals are still used despite the order of the notes changing, because actually you can have your bass playing there. So we've got C, G, A minor, F, or 1, 5, 6, 4. So you can either imagine the bass or actually play it, just so that you can see how those chords move. Now, You can get a chord sequence for free out of this. At the moment, we've got 1, 5, 6, 4. So if I just go back to this version. If I started on the 6 and then played exactly the same order of chords, instead of 1, 5, 6, 4, I'm going to have 6, 4, 1, 5. I'm going to take the two halves and essentially do that. So we've got chord 6, chord 4, chord 1, and chord 5. So it sounds completely different from the major. Now this key is now A minor. Now that is the relative minor of C major. So this is where you get a sort of a cousin, really. From C major, A minor are actually a relative pair. So the A minor is the relative minor of C major. Likewise, C major is the relative major of A minor. So they're kind of, they are sort of mutually exclusive. Now, what happens now, though, is that we change the Roman numerals because the new key is A minor. So we're going to have a small Roman numeral 1, a large Roman numeral 6. Why is that 6? Well, if that's 8 or 1, 7, 6. You can count up as well as down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's your 6. So we've got small Roman numeral 1, large Roman numeral 6, large Roman numeral 3. There's your 1, 2, 3. And then a large Roman numeral 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 1, 6, 3, 7. We can do the same thing with changing the chords or inverting them, which is to change the order of the notes. Now, I've gone through that with the C major, but essentially A minor and F, if you remember, we have A and C as being the common notes. So you can just change the top one instead to meet up with what it should be for the F chord or chord 6. So we've got... Now C is C, E and G, but we've got the C already. We could find the E here and then the G down here. And then we've got our G chord there. And that is how you get your minor chord sequence for free. So if I added the bass... Now that's the minor chord sequence. If I compare that with the major, exactly the same chords have been used, but it sounds completely different. So there is your minor chord sequence that you can get for free from a major sequence. Now all the sharps and flats, all the black notes here, they are essentially used where you change your key, where the scale has sharps in it, for example. And actually the last one, in the part 1 of this, I had something in G major. Now G does this. The 7th note of the scale is actually a sharp, it's F sharp, it's that black note there. This means that any chords that I have to have the black note in, so that's not right, it has to be that one. So G, chord 1, chord 5 is D, chord 6 is E minor, and chord 4 is C. Now, of course, if I was going to start on the relative minor to get my minor sequence, you'd still have to have that F sharp there. So if I've got G, A, B, C, D, E, there's chord 6, so I'm going to start with 6, and then 4, 1, 5. And of course, being a minor key, it's going to be called something different. It's going to be called lowercase Roman numeral 1, uppercase 6, uppercase 3, uppercase 7. So that's how it works. You've just got to make sure that you include any black notes that you need to use. So that gets more complicated the more flats you have, or more sharps or flats you have in your key. So if I've got A major, that's got 3 sharps. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. So A, E, F sharp minor, D. A, E, F sharp minor, D. So you can see I've had to include those black notes as I go, but the principle is exactly the same. So if you remember the 1, 5, 6, 4, which is your major chord sequence, and then the minor chord sequence, if we assume that the minor is going to be called 1 as well, we get 1, 6, 3 and 7. And there are your 2 groups.